Hi, it's Kevin Campbell, and I'm joined by my dear friend, RedNose John. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How are you? Looking well?
I'm feel good. How are you? How are you handling the lockdown so far?
It's all right. So it's tough on everyone, isn't it? I suppose I'm lucky because I've got a garden. I can get out and every now and again. I feel sorry for people who are stuck indoors all the time. It's dreadful. And so I'm doing all right. And James, my son, he's getting me in the. We've set up a little gym, so he's getting me in there and beasting me every other day. So I'll be glad to get back out to the truth.
I
I'll be
love
out
that.
unscathed if I'm lucky.
Yeah, I love that, John. I love that. Now, listen, it's difficult for everybody,
It is.
but we're gonna get into it because obviously because of the lockdown, it's made football quite
And
difficult.
we need it now, don't we?
I know.
Now's the time we need it.
But the first thing, John, I want a lot of people know your name. They know of RedNose John, but who is RedNose John? Could you explain to people who you are? And for those who don't know, obviously,
Yeah.
loads of people know who you are. But for those who don't know, who is RedNose John and what is RedNose John about?
Right. So I'm just at the end of the day, I'm a fan at the end of the day. But it's who I'm a fan of that gets the Red Nose John. So you christened me Red Nose John a good few years ago
Yeah.
because I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm a Liverpool fan because my dad was based in Liverpool. He was a musician based in Liverpool in the 50s and early 60s and was a season ticket holder at Anfield. But I was born down south in London, hence the accent.
South.
And then moved back up about 20 years ago, moved back to Northwest about 20 years ago, and I've lived here ever since. And I'm a season ticket holder, got season tickets at Anfield, I've had them for about 10 years. So that's the Red Nose John. I had a good bit of banter with the Everton guys that you've introduced me to. We've had a few good old afternoons in the Winslow with the boys.
Yeah.
So it's all good, healthy stuff, good banter. And of course, you and I met, getting on for 20 years ago, 18
20
years ago now?
Yeah.
Boys were big friends at school. We became friends. The infamous night that we met and rinsed all your man of the match champagne.
No, don't. That's for another one, John. We'll leave that for another one. We'll leave that for another one.
That's where it all started, and we've spoken virtually every day ever since, haven't we? I think, and had some great times together. So that's what it's all about.
But one thing you've left out, John, which I've got to make sure we touch, is how staunch a Liverpool fan are you? Let's have it right here.
Yeah. So totally biased. Totally staunch, totally unreasonable, see it completely from one point of view. Plenty would say that's standard for a Liverpool fan. Unbearable,
yeah, we get that.
And I go to the away games. I've been to both Champions League finals. And of course we're always treated unfairly. Okay, in the finals when we lose them, it's always down to how hard grafting we win.
Of course, mate. Of course. Listen, we have great time. We have great banter about it, etc. We've got ourselves in quite a bit of trouble at times, haven't we, on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we are just good mates who love to battle. And we love to tell the truth, don't we? We love to tell the truth.
And we're not above deliberately dropping a contentious one in to pull the other one's chain a bit either.
No, that's for sure. So I'm glad you've opened that door. So let's get on to...
Because you're going to be straight through it.
No, the Premier League. Let's look at the Premier League right now, John.
I look at it every morning.
Yeah. In your eyes, I bet you do. In your eyes, what needs to be done?
All jokes aside, before I answer that, it's a difficult question for a Liverpool fan to answer without people just throwing at them, well, of course you would because you're top of the league. And clearly, first time in 30 years to win the league, it's a massive thing for us and it would be awful not to. But I think if you look at it even from a non-Liverpool fan point of view, I think if you haven't got an agenda, to void a season is
that's everyone else, John.
Yeah, but it's not satisfactory, is it? I don't think.
No,
I don't. I think if you look at it, if I wasn't a Liverpool fan, for the banter. If I was an Everton fan, I might say it. But really, it's not. I don't. I think the problem is that any of the alternatives, other than finishing the season, none of them are particularly fair. They're not completely fair.
Yeah.
You void the season. I know Karen Brady suggested, didn't she, way back very early doors? Let's void it. Let's void it. Yeah. Well. But, they've not managed their season particularly. I've got mates who are West Ham fans who are very anti the way the club's been run. And they're getting a free pass, in effect, then, because they've managed the season badly. They could well go down if the season carries on. So it's not just all about Liverpool. I actually think, again, you may say, I think Liverpool in a way is the easiest decision of the lot. So when people say, oh, I say, you know, curtail the season, Liverpool in a way is easier because you could curtail the season and give Liverpool the title without much contention, probably. You know, 25 points clear. It is very unlikely Liverpool won't win the title. That's probably the least contentious. What about the Sheffield Uniteds? You know, the Arsenals, Everton, you know, who could get UEFA, get in Europa League. They could get up there, Champions League possibly. Like, you know, look at Sheffield United's season, what they produced this season.
Yeah.
And you scrap that. And you know, what happens to them, the money for places? Sheffield United, that's lifeblood money for them.
That's right.
So it's not just about Liverpool. So the answer to your question is, I think if we can finish the season, we should. We should take any opportunity to finish it as possible. And I actually, and maybe this is the bit more contentious bit, I think that should take as long as it needs to take, because we've got to put people's safety first. We've got to keep people healthy. But actually, if you're going to mess about with the season, mess about with next season, because it's not started. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next point, John. Because how long do you keep it going? I know you'd have it 2 or 3 years if it need be. You'd do that, but realistically,
then cancel the Champions League final so we can then be champions and Champions League champions at the same time.
Oi, you listen here, you. It's got to be concluded, because don't forget, we've got a season to get through, because the European Championships are supposed to be next year.
Here's a contentious one for you, Kev. Here's a contentious one for you, yeah? I don't know. Look, and be clear, I'm not dictating anything here. I don't know the answers. I don't think there's a perfect answer. And a lot of the problem we've got is we don't know what we're dealing with. We don't know how long this is going to go on. But to me, you deal with next season as a separate entity. Maybe there isn't a next season. There'll always be a next season. Maybe next season isn't badged 2021. Yeah? Say this went on for months and you got healthy and you didn't have time to have a second season. I know that's outlandish to say it, but to me, whatever you do for next season, everyone starts fair. They start on the same level playing field. The other thing people are saying, rushing to avoid it, if we're talking about this going on so long, you said your question was, how long do we leave it? Yeah. So if you follow that through, we're saying there is a chance we may have to leave this for months. It might be absolutely ages before we can get back to playing football.
Of course, yeah.
Well, then you're affecting next season. Anyway, whatever you do with this season, that means next season, you know, we don't know when it's going to start. We don't know what's going to happen. So, and what happens then if we get a second outbreak? Do we void next season? Do we keep voiding seasons? Then the credibility of the game comes to a point where people won't watch it. Why do you watch something that never finishes? You know, it's you don't get a result. So to me, you give it as long as you possibly can. I don't know what the end result is on that, but you give it as long as you possibly can to finish the season, whether that be behind closed doors or not.
Well, look, RedNose, here's a question for you, which I know the answer to, but I've got to ask. But I've got to ask you. Yeah. Are you in favour? Look, you're a big fan. You love going to the games, etc. Are you a favour of behind closed doors, settling this thing behind closed doors?
I think we've got to get it finished, Kevin. If we win the league and it's behind closed doors and we're not there, I think it would be sad for us as Liverpool fans. I think if you're a Sheffield United fan and imagine they managed to get a Champions League place or a Europa League place, I think it's incredibly sad. But I think this season we just need to get it done. And I think, you know, sadly for those teams, there'll always be a little bit about it. It'll be a different season that maybe it hasn't got the same one, unless we all suddenly could go back and we just carry on. But even then, we don't know how much has been disrupted. I just think we need to get it done. I think, you know, we're already seeing, Kev, in Holland, I believe, that there's 2 clubs now taking legal action.
Of course,
against the league. You know, what happens if they get injunctions to stop next season starting and stuff like that? I mean, there will be so many untied up loose ends. I think that it makes it a problem. So I'm answering your question. Sorry, long-winded way. I think if we can get it finished and it's behind closed doors, I think just get it done, get the season finished, and then we can sit and take stock of next season.
Yeah, because you know what? If we could, we know there's 9-10 games left of the season. For me, John, I just think if they void the season, it leaves more questions than actually more questions than answers. Because you look at the Championship. You look at the teams who want to come up from the Championship, going great, Leeds and West Brom, for instance, right now.
And the group underneath them.
Exactly, who are probably going to get in the playoffs. You know, that's going to be taken away from them, let alone the teams who are in the Premier League who have ain't doing so well, who can go
Absolutely.
down. And then you rightly touched on it, the European places. Look, you guys are far ahead, been the best team this season. I know you're going to laugh. Stop laughing. You're drinking your tea. Yeah. Look, you've been far away
Would
the
you say
best
that
team.
just once again a little bit louder?
Yeah, I will, John. But obviously, with my Everton connection, to be able to null and void the season would just give us some. It'll just be sweet.
Yeah,
But
and do you know, I've thought about that. Would I be the same the other way around? And
you would, oh my God.
you'd have to look. You certainly have to
Get
get a
out of
small
it.
smile of satisfaction, wouldn't you?
Yes.
I just don't know if going forward it would be that great, but yeah, I suppose so. But I don't think it's really the ideal way of doing it.
Yeah, I think so too. Look, for all the banter we could have, and for all I could wind you up, John, I think it's the wrong. I personally do. I think it's the season needs to be concluded, and all the questions need to be answered. So there's no lawsuits. So the TV people get what they need, contracts get fulfilled, etc. So moving on, John. Just for let's just say we get everything played behind closed doors, etc.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts for the future? For
In what sense?
no, for your team. It's got to be your team, because you ain't gonna really discuss too much about my teams, are you?
I think the interesting thing for Liverpool is this. You've got to almost hope this isn't just it's just not about now, just a one-off. And, you know, we won the Champions League last year. I don't know if you noticed that, but
Listen, is that when I was in Timbuktu, John?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's about making it sustainable, which I think is what teams other than, you know, the great Arsenal teams, United teams, the old Liverpool teams managed to do, but a lot haven't done. They've won it and then sunk back down. So it's, you know, who you buy, who you strengthen the squad with. You keep that same mentality, strength. You keep hold of people that you need to keep hold of. I think it's going to be an interesting one next season, because, you know, others will strengthen. You know, it looks like, you know, City will definitely strengthen. I think Arsenal seems to be getting their act together a bit. I actually think, you know, I think Everton have got the right manager now as well, so they'll come up. I think it's going to be, you know, the legal people aren't going to get weaker. I think they're going to get stronger. I think United probably going to give it a good shot next season as well. So Liverpool have to stay ahead of the game, and I think it's a mixture of buying correctly, keeping the squad together, but also that, you know, you think they've lost 2 matches in the last season and 3 quarters.
Yeah.
That takes a tremendous, you know this better than me, Kev, takes a tremendous mental resolve to do that. And it's, can you keep that going? Because I think we've seen it before, maybe that City team, which was maybe the best team we've seen in the Premier League. You know, this season, have they managed to quite keep at that same level of mental intensity? Maybe there's a window of doing that for a couple of years rather than doing it for 3-4 years in a row. So it's how you refresh, how you reboot and keep it going. But I think with the manager we've got and the basic squad we've got, now's the time where they've got an opportunity to build on, you know, the next 4 or 5 years and make it a real successful period, which we haven't done well before.
John, I've got to tell you, I'm not feeling too great today, because we're talking too much about Liverpool.
Yeah, I know.
But you know that. But look, I've got to ask you, if you could strengthen Liverpool, the Liverpool squad now, what areas would you strengthen?
I think there's a few areas you could strengthen. I mean, we're talking about in the ideal world, aren't we? I mean,
yeah.
So if we assume maybe that we keep everyone, so we assume that we don't lose anyone, I think we need cover at left back for, I think it's a lot to, I think where we've been fortunate this year is we haven't had key injuries to key players as much as some. You know, we have actually lost Alisson a lot, and I think that probably knocked us out of the Champions League. I don't think he'd have made the mistake that led to us to that turnaround. But the rest of the time, you know, Virgil van Dijk being there, I think, you know, probably need strong cover there as well, centre back and left back. And I think it would be useful to have a really strong challenger for the front three.
Timo Werner. Oi, Timo Werner's been mentioned, hasn't he?
Well, and I rate that. I rate that as a shout. I mean, I think if that deal, there seems to be some dispute about whether that deal will get done or not. But if it does, I think that adds a bit of flexibility and also pace to that. You know, the type of player that Klopp likes. I
Mm.
think some people say, you know, we maybe need more creativity in midfield, but I don't know if you've got the front three or the front four going well. You know, those four interchangeable. I don't know that you do. I think that midfield works. So that'd be the last bit I'd be looking at. So I think, yeah, Timo Werner up front, solid left back, and yeah, decent replacement for Robbo, and some cover for maybe slightly better standard cover at centre back as well. Oh, and actually, the one I'm missing is, sorry, the most important is we do need a better understudy goalkeeper. Definitely.
Yeah, right, okay.
The problem you got, Kev, as you know as well, though, if you're at the level Liverpool have got to this year, this last couple of years, you get the balance, aren't you, between getting a player that actually can come in and is almost as good, if not as good as those players, but you're asking that person to potentially sit on the bench and rely on injuries. And so it's not as easy as it seems, is it, to get these people in
No,
as cover?
John, it's crazy because do you remember Arsene Wenger used to do that with his two goalkeepers, for instance. One used to play in the cup competitions, and Petr Cech played in the. You know, it was crazy because if you're the main goalkeeper, you want to play every game.
Yeah, and I believe that's one of the things that Werner's got a problem with. That they're saying, you know, he really wants to play for Klopp. He really wants to come to Liverpool. I think Liverpool quite like the look of him, but it's like, is he going to leave doing what he's doing? You know, he's an international, and potentially sit behind the front three boys for large parts of the season. You know, it's a big shout for a player, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. John, just a quick one before we finish. Well, I've had overdose to Liverpool, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for that. So thank you very much for that. It always happens with you, by the way.
I'll probably ring you 10 minutes after you finish and start banging on about
start banging on about Liverpool again. I know, that's typical. John, what's your thoughts on this, you know, the footballers taking wage cuts?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, actually. You should say that. But the biggest high-profile one has been Ozil, hasn't it? Refusing to take the cut at Arsenal. I've got to be honest with you. I've got some sympathy for him. I think your wages are your wages. You're entitled to do what you want to do with your wages. I do understand the club may need help, but all these guys have got wealthy owners, and you're only talking about, you know, a 10% cut or whatever, a 12.5% cut. I think particularly in Ozil's case, having looked into it a bit and heard, I believe he's incredibly generous when it comes to charitable donations and, you know, helping the community and doing good work. So I don't think it's about greed with Ozil. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about principle.
Principle, yeah.
And I don't often agree with Roy Keane, but I believe, I didn't see it, but someone told me that he very strongly said people should, you know, if they don't want to, they should turn down the request for a wage reduction. And I agree with them. I don't think you should be made to do it or made feel good to do it. It's his wages. He signed a contract for that money. And you could also argue that, you know, you reduced, you were talking at one stage, 30% wage cuts, weren't they, for the Premier League footballers? Well, that's 30%. That's the tax out the window as well for the NHS and whoever else that's going to support, because if they're not paying the gross salary, then they're not going to be paying tax on it.
Yeah, that's less
Maybe
tax.
It's better for these guys like the captains have done, where you take full salary and you then contribute back out of your net salary. Then it's a double money. But no, answering your question, I think it's a very difficult thing to ask people to do. I also get slightly irritated with why is it all about footballers? Why are footballers meant to be taking pay cuts? What about people earning similar amounts of money in business and whatever? They're not even mentioned. I don't understand what footballers have done to deserve this scrutiny, really. I don't think that's fair. So, I don't agree with
politicians as well. You didn't see them taking any pay cuts, John.
No, and I suppose you could argue they don't earn anywhere near as much. I'm not getting into the politics of it,
but it's the principle, John. We're on about the principle.
But certainly, the principle of, you know, clearly why they're asking footballers why. Hancock stands up and targets footballers is because he regards them as wealthy individuals. Well, there are a lot of other wealthy individuals in the country. What are they?
A lot wealthier. Yeah.
A lot wealthier. And also, a lot of them aren't paying tax. A lot of them have got companies offshore that aren't paying tax. So why aren't they being attacked? Maybe more than footballers. I think footballers are a bit of a soft target. People want they can get on the pay footballers. But no, my view is they shouldn't have to take pay cuts if they don't want to, and they do what they want with their money.
Well, John, listen, thanks for giving us all a little insight into who you are. We know you are RedNose John, typical. Thanks for your time, mate, today, and hopefully we'll do this again very soon, pal.
Good to have a chat.
Take care, John.
Stay safe, Kev. Yeah.
Cheers.
Speak soon. Cheers, mate.
Bye, mate.